Welcome to the show today. I just want to say thank you to all the listeners, to everyone that listens to the show. We haven't said that nearly enough. Well, we get so many people reaching out to us and saying thanks for everything that we do and the impact it's made on their life. And we just want to say thank you back to you guys for listening. So it's kind of on a whim right there just to say that. And I know, Sean, you feel the same. Yeah,
super grateful.
The same
Absolutely.
way, man. So just so grateful. And all the amazing stories we're hearing from people, like for the impact it's having on their lives. Like we do this and we think, oh, I enjoy doing this and we know why we're doing it. But we don't get to see people listen to it. Then, close their door from their car that they just stepped out of after they've listened to the episode and go do something in their lives because of it. And so that's just a special thing. And today's episode is you're not stuck because of you're broken internally. You're stuck because your beliefs are stuck in whatever it is that you're having an issue with. And today we're going to discuss that. And by the end of this episode, even though it's going to be 20, 25 minutes, you're going to leave understanding the power of what you think will absolutely shape your life. It's a very simple formula, very simple, not easy. So we're going to discuss that today, what beliefs are and how you can change them, how you can just tweak it just a little bit. And it's a slow process. Maybe it's slow, maybe it's fast, but it takes some time, but the results will be spectacular. John, when we say beliefs, what hits you when we discuss this? Like what? Because I know your beliefs have gotten you everything you've wanted, right? Everything you've sought after. What some of the key elements for you, like that you connect with, that actually produces results out here in the world?
Yeah, for me, man, it's like I've been saying this a lot lately. You must believe to achieve. Right. And think about that for a second. And so for me, it's like in anything that you want to put your mind to in any area of life, you must believe to achieve that, right? Like I want to be the best husband for my wife. I want to be the best father. I want to be the best leader for my team. I want to be the best, and all this is not only affirmations and mantras, but it's also, I believe I can, right? And then making sure that my actions are aligned with that belief. Because if my actions are not aligned with that belief, then you're off.
Yeah.
Right. And so for me, you can believe it all day long, but if you're not actually taking the steps and doing the activities to align with that belief, then you're just fooling yourself.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? It
really does. I feel like most people, and myself included, we don't know what we believe. We don't, we if it's not analyzed, you don't question it. And if you don't question it, you just the result of whatever you do believe shows up. And that's one of the things I was thinking too, like whatever area of life that isn't going the way you necessarily want it to go, like, or there's something that doesn't feel right or something you're working towards, that is all being produced out of something you believe.
Yep.
It's somewhere in there embedded, might be a subconscious belief. Like you might think you believe something, but if that was true, why are the results not matching up with that consistently over time? Which means you must have another belief. For example, limitations on, just pulling this up, but it's a huge one, is financial gain, right? People who believe that making money is bad. Even though they want to make money and that's their goal, they think making money, they were told when they were young, they believe that only you have to do bad things, like you have to be a bad person to make money. So if they believe that internally, no matter how hard they try to go do something with their life, it's never going to happen because their belief does not align with it. So if you were wanting to be financially stable, you'd have to tweak your beliefs somehow. And that's true for food as well, right? It's true for, I just used money as an example because it's so visceral. It's so upfront. But, and I know with a number of your coachees, like you have this conversation, right? Like they are coming to you, they're wanting a result, and you can match that up with that fact that it's a belief that's not lining with them. How would you bring that out of them typically? How do you get that?
Yeah, man. So it aligns perfectly with what you're talking about. So the beliefs that we have today, whether you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, and 50s, for me, what I've learned personally is that look at your childhood, look at your parents. What were the beliefs that they instilled in you, right? And so one of the things I reflect back on my own childhood is what I apply today is hard work, commitment, determination. when I get knocked down, I get back up, and I go, well, where did I get these beliefs from? Where did I get these actions? And I look back and I remember my dad, love him to death. And he did the best that he possibly could. But everything that I possibly had did in my life, baseball, motocross, and in business, whatever it may be, I would get knocked down, but he would always be there to help pick me back up and have that belief in like, hey son, you can be in last place, but you can turn this around if you get back up. And I remember I would always be the underdog. I'd always be, my belief was, because he instilled that in me in my childhood, just because you're in last place, right, doesn't mean that doesn't identify who you are. And so to me, the belief was, oh, so you're saying I can turn this around? So you're saying if I do get knocked down, so you're saying if I do fail, if I do trip and fall and wreck the dirt bike and strike out at baseball, get rejected by a girl, fail in business, that I can keep, because how you do one thing is how you do everything. So you're saying that I just got to get back up, and as long as I have that belief, I can keep moving forward. Tomorrow's a new day. And he instilled that in me, that tomorrow's a new day. You get back up and you keep putting one foot in front of the other. And that was my belief. Yeah. And that's what I've applied today. And it's possible for anybody listening to this.
It's right? So cool. Yeah, that right there. How would you, so someone that didn't have that growing up and they have that limiting belief, I remember a number of times, and I've said it to myself, I'll hear people, I'm like, oh man, I didn't learn that when I was young. So does that mean I could learn today? It's like learning a language. You learn a language so much easier when you're young because your brain's got that plasticity. It just absorbs it. Doesn't even know it's learning. And kids can learn Spanish and English or whatever language at the same time because they're just soaking it up. There's no notion. There's no pre-wired concepts that they've been told. Every belief we've gotten is because of the experiences of life that we've had. Right. And most of that comes from our childhood, our parents, and things get locked in at 7 years old, 5 years old. These decisions were made. That's why you see adults, myself included, I'm not saying other adults and not me. I'm saying that's why we act childish sometimes. Like we see these 7-year-old man, like banging his fist off the table. Like, I said ketchup, not mustard. You're like, whoa, that's what my 4-year-old would have done back in the day.
Yep. So
how do you change that? If someone's out there thinking, well, I didn't have that when I was young, so I'm kind of cooked. Like, what would you say to someone? I know what I would say. What would you say to them?
Yeah, for me, I think it's going to be the biggest thing that I had, the biggest wake up call in my life, and what I've learned from coaches and people in my life is you have to take a look at yourself in the mirror. And if you're not willing to take your look at yourself in the mirror and realize that, hey, where are my beliefs? Where are my limiting beliefs? Where is my self-doubts? Where is this showing up? And some of those examples can be if you're telling yourself, I'm not good enough, or I can't, right? If the word can't is in your vocabulary, you need to reflect on that and be aware of that. Like, if that's your belief, if you can't do something, I can't start a podcast, I can't start a business, I can't go work out, I can't go work out at 4 a.m., then you've already set yourself up for failure. That's your belief.
Warning sign. It's a great red flag.
100%. So that's my point, is that's a red flag. That's where you self-reflect. And then you listen to podcasts like this and you listen to clips and go, well, wait a minute. That's me. That's what I'm doing. Okay. Well, what do I need to do to correct course? Step one is you have to reflect on it and realize that's what I'm doing. Because like you said, subconsciously, we don't realize it.
Yeah.
And
you just said, and it's amazing you just said that, because I'm learning myself. I'll say that. People they'll say, oh, that's me. And I'd say, oh yeah, I would say that's me. I wouldn't say that's me. People don't connect it. They don't think that they say I can't. I think but then I'll find randomly, I just said I can't. And I didn't think you were talking to me right there. I thought you were talking to everybody else. That's what I think most people are thinking also is, well, he's not talking to me. But that logically makes sense for everybody else. But I think we all do it. We have to find, where am I saying I can't? You have to find it. You got to hunt. It's sneaky. Your brain doesn't want you to know, right? Like your brain's trying to stay comfortable, and finding out those I can'ts is a great practical step. like maybe just take note. Everyone listening, I'm going to do it myself, right? Where am I saying, where can I catch myself saying I can't? Because there's indication of a belief that is holding me back. It's making me stuck.
Right.
And I don't even know it.
Right. Yeah. Because in the way you find that out is by some examples that helped me is mantras, right? I would write down for months, if not years, I would write down positive affirmations. And so if somebody's thinking like, oh, where do I, maybe subconsciously they're like, that's not me. Okay, cool. To a certain degree, maybe, right? I don't know. But one of the things that's helped me out was the journaling and writing positive affirmations. I can run multiple businesses. I can work out when I want to work out. I can live the life on my own terms. I can design the life that I want to live. I can, right? And so whether you think you say those you can't or you can is irrelevant at this point. What I would suggest doing is just being intentional about writing down the positive affirmations. Yeah. I can do this, right?
You hear something funny? I remember, and I still to a certain degree, but nowhere near as much. What you just said, I didn't believe mantras worked.
Yeah.
I didn't believe it. I'm like, those don't work because they're kind of old school, and that's something they used to say back in the day, like, oh, I like myself. And to a certain degree, like, you couldn't say I like myself and believe that's true if you don't.
So can I point something out?
Oh, yeah, please.
What did you just say to yourself? What did you just tell your old self, your version?
Yeah, all those that's how I used to think. And so I'm like
mantras don't work. See,
yes.
you consciously just said that, subconsciously just said that. Mantras don't work. Yeah. That's the story you're telling yourself internally, so you're going to believe that.
Yeah. And I did shift. I literally forced myself, because it's not easy to just change a belief. It feels like you're like splitting wood with your hands, right? Like and I remember starting saying positive things to myself. It didn't feel right because my brain was so wired to not say positive mantras, but I'm like, I'm just going to do it because I've heard it so many times. And then there's that glimmer of, oh, wait a minute, I said those things and I didn't believe them, but I said them and I felt different. Like I did it enough to where I started seeing an impact. It's same with gratitude. I know all about gratitude. I could explain it to you, but I didn't believe that it would make a difference for me. Like, that's just woo. That's right. Nonsense, right? I know it works for other people, but I don't think it works for me. That's what most people, I know it works for them, but I'm different. I'm special. You don't understand that I'm dealing with this, right? Like, people's always going to have that excuses, myself absolutely included. So when you start working on it consistently, pounding, like going to the gym constantly, you start getting results. You start seeing the transformation of when you constantly, like, if you're in a tough moment and you're dealing with something hard, using gratitude will literally shift. If you think to yourself, I don't like this person, or I don't like the way that situation goes. I don't like where my circumstances, and you're in that negative space and you think to yourself, I'm going to have a moment of gratitude. I'm so grateful for my child's smile.
Yes.
Try and feel bad. You can't. You can't. And so that just proves right there that it's the belief that's holding you back from not thinking about your child's smile or whatever that is for someone, right? So it's the belief that if I do these things constantly, I will have different outcomes, right? Because it's different thoughts, different beliefs lead to different emotions, and different emotions and feelings lead to different actions. So it's really subtle, but it's everything. It's everything.
And if you're one of the things that I struggled with, if I did feel like even though I had the mantra, I must believe to achieve. Well, there was times where, and I'll share a story here in a second. There was times where I was like, I didn't see results immediately. So we as human beings, when I don't see results immediately, a day, a week, 6 months, 12 months, we start losing belief. We start losing faith, right? And so one of the things that's helped me and that I would encourage individuals to do is, after I share this story, is to work on the triggers in our mind. And what I mean by that is, like, when you're in a situation or when you're in a scenario or when you're going through a lack of belief, is find that trigger find that statement, find that mantra, whatever you want to call it, to snap you out of it.
Yeah.
And for me, it's, I got this, right? I poke
You
up.
say that all the time. I love it.
I got this. I like, let's go, push.
Yeah.
I'm going to execute. I'm okay. Like when I get in the cold plunge, prime example, I hate the freaking cold plunge. I've been doing it for a year now. I hate the freaking cold plunge. I'm thinking about it right now. And every time I get in it, I tell myself, you're okay. You're okay. And then I do the plunge at the very end, hold my nose for 15 seconds underneath the water in this 40-degree water. And I tell myself every single time, Ewan, I say, you're okay. You're okay. And it's a trigger in my mind to calm myself. And if I don't have that mantra, if I don't tell myself that I'm okay, then I don't believe it can be done, and I don't do it.
Yeah.
The story I was going to share 4 years ago when I started Camp Gladiator, which is a competition, CG. Me and my wife, she got me involved in CG, Camp Gladiator, and they had the first competition, and it was out in Navasota. It had been a while since baseball, since I had competed at doing any kind of competitions with fitness. And it was going to be about a 15-minute course, and you basically just had to, hammer out a workout. I had no clue. I had no mentorship. I had no guidance. All I did was I knew I was, worked out. So I showed up, and I see all these fit people around us, and I see all, everybody just basically. I felt like I did not deserve to be there. I felt like, what are you doing here? Like there was uncertainty. Like, why are you showing up to this? Like, you're not supposed to be here. You're not prepared. So all these negative beliefs started going through my mind. And so at this race, at this competition, we had no clue, right? I had drank a coffee before. I had eaten a fried chicken biscuit with ranch before this competition.
Yeah.
And so I didn't know what I was signing up for, but I had just plugged myself in, right? Well, long story short, it was the worst. Like I had performed the worst that I had ever performed. I went out there basically bonked. I was exhausted. I was fatigued. I didn't know. There was no measurement on how I had done, but I knew I didn't give it my best. Well, fast forward, every year for CG Camp Gladiator, they had a competition every single year. My belief was I wanted to manifest that I don't ever want that feeling again. I am sick and tired of being sick and tired of feeling that way, of the way I felt. I didn't know what to eat that morning. I know I wasn't supposed to feel the way I did when I went through that competition. And then after that, I went to the next competition the year after. 12 months later, my beliefs and my manifestations, I remember crying and tearing up in the gym going, dude, you got this. Number one, bro, you can be on the podium. You got this. The next year I would show up. The guys would crush me. They dominate me. I wouldn't even make it to the final round. I didn't make it to the final round 12 months later. I said, you know what? That's fine. You know what? I'm going to go back, put work in behind the scenes. 12 months goes around again. The third year at CG Camp Gladiator competition, the same thing happens. I did not make it to the final round. I was devastated. I was like, dude, internally, I was like, man, I don't have what it takes. What am I doing wrong? What am I missing here? What is it me? What is it? So my beliefs were all over the place. Yeah. I was struggling. I didn't know. And that, my friend, is when I said, you know what? For things to change, I have to change. And not only do my beliefs have to change, but that was a moment in my life where it's like, is my actions aligned with my beliefs? What it is that I want to accomplish, what it is that I want to do, and who I want to become to get on that podium. If I want to get on that podium, I may believe it all day long, Ewan, but am I doing the actions behind the scenes when nobody's looking to actually run congruent with that belief? Because if you want to believe it, you can achieve it, and it will create confidence, right? But yes, you have to put the work in behind the scenes and who you need to become. So I hired a coach. I hired a training coach, spent hundreds of dollars, tweaked my nutrition, and guess who was on the podium in 2023?
I've never heard you tell that story like that before. Unbelievable.
Yeah. So you must believe to achieve. You must be willing to take the action, to take the steps, to do the activities, to understand the person you need to become to achieve that. It can be done. If you're listening to this, you have the power within you to do it. You have the power.
What advice would you give someone that is not used to being able to sustain that amount of drive? Like what would be like a baby step for someone to, because what you just said I know a lot of people would think I could never do that. That's not me. I don't have the evidence. Like people, and this is an example. I'm not a runner. I don't run. Well, that's just a straight up belief because I'm the one that said that. I don't like to, I like to sprint, but I hate running long distance. I'm not a runner. What did we just do? We just ran a marathon.
What did you just say to yourself?
Yeah, that was my belief. It was like, I couldn't, I'm not.
Right.
But that's a story I was telling myself. But then look, we just ran the marathon, right? In February. Because I changed the belief on that. Like I saw something different. And I know sport, working out, training. I've never done it like I'm doing it right now because we're going to High Rocks. I was going to say I actually feel very similar to how you felt with CG Games, that like imposter syndrome, because I don't feel like I've put in the time and effort. And I'm working on that belief, right? Like I'm okay with it. And I smile every time I think about it because I know what my brain is trying to do to me by saying, oh, you don't deserve that, or and so I have a conversation and I shut that down, and I know I'm going for the experience and I'm going to do my very best. I'm going to do all the things that I can do that I can control.
All you can ask for.
There's nothing more you can do.
Yes.
And so I've played with that a lot in my life. Like if I get knocked down, I'm the same as you, right? Like I learned, you get knocked down, you get back up. Like Captain America, I could do this all day and I'll not stop. Like it could be 15 years. I will win, right? Like that's my mindset. I don't care how long it takes. If you're not used to, and I'm saying that in that area, and there are a lot of areas, but maybe there's some areas that I don't know yet. Like I maybe, because again, beliefs are sneaky. Like what you think is not what it's a blind spot. Like I think most beliefs are negative or blind spots. Otherwise we'd know and do something about it.
Right.
But someone that's hearing that, like what like a coachee, what advice would you give them, like to keep them, to get them into that state? Because you wouldn't just jump straight into that, but how could they work towards that?
So I would say the first thing is realizing that where are your limiting beliefs? Where are your self doubts right now? Like when I would talk to somebody and we would have that conversation and I would ask them questions and just like what we've done in this episode today. And I think even behind the scenes in the podcast episodes, like I've heard it in your language, right? Where you're saying like, I can't, like I've heard you say things like, I can't force fitness. That's the story you're telling yourself. True. But to me, in my mind, I'm like, where can I pivot? So that would be step one, is like, where can you address and reflect and go, what is coming out of my mouth? Right? Looking at yourself in the mirror, when you talk, go back and listen to yourself, record yourself. And so that would be the first thing, right? If you don't have anybody around you, is to maybe record yourself when you're talking, or look at yourself in the mirror, or ask your spouse, a friend, a best friend, to ask you, say, hey, I want you to do something for me. I want you to hold me accountable. When I start saying things like, I don't have enough time, I want you to freaking slap me upside my head. Yeah. Don't do that. Okay. My wife would probably do that, but I want you to acknowledge it. Like, hey, Sean, you're saying you just said you don't have enough time. Oh my gosh, I did say that. So I think that's the biggest game changer, is one, being intentional about what you say and how you say it, and when you're talking to yourself behind the scenes, and then more importantly, having that accountability partner. I think that's why coaching is so powerful, is because when I hear coachees talking to me, I'll point it out, be like,
yeah,
hey, you're
help them catch it.
Could you
do something real quick for me? Because you're right. I do say, I say you can't force fitness. You can't be, you can't have 4 years worth of fitness within 4 months.
Right.
Which is true. But, and my belief is, I know if I work out long enough over time, I will get there, but it won't, I can't force it. Right. But I'm saying that what would be something, what would you say? Cause that would be, I hadn't thought about that. Right. That is my belief. You can't force that. Like, and it is true. I couldn't be 4 years fit right now. Like today, I'd have to earn it. But what could I say that makes more sense? Right. Like, and for the audience listening, where could they take this and use it themselves as well? Like in whatever area, like I'm not smart, I can't get A's, whatever. Right.
So man, I love this. So what I would break it down is to you and say, okay, cool. So when you say, I can't force fitness, what does that mean to you?
It's going to take time. I'm going to have to earn it. In my mind, I'm like, and I'm okay with that. But where am I? where's that holding me up then? Like maybe there is something else, because I truly believe what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And maybe there's another belief to be had.
Yeah. So what I would suggest doing, and what I've done for my own self, is, because it's so easy for me, because that's what I'm familiar with. That's what you're familiar with. Like, that may be true. Maybe, perhaps. That's the first thing. Put the word to it. Maybe. Perhaps it is. You can't force fitness. But here's the thing, Ewan. Here's the question. You ready? This is the drop the mic moment. The version of you that says, I can't force fitness, versus the version of you that says, you know what? I'm going to go out here and I'm going to give it all I got. I'm going to force fitness. I'm going to make it happen. I'm going to do everything in my willpower and do whatever it takes, at the same time making sure I'm recovering, making sure my nutrition, and making sure I do the things that I know I need to do on a daily basis. And I'm going to get that sub 60, that sub 58. Now, whether you hit that or not, which version is going to dominate the other guy, right? Which mantra, which version?
That's my line. I love that, dude. You just totally hit me with it. I love that.
And you can apply that in anything where you have the limiting beliefs, where you're saying, I don't have enough time. I can't do these things. Okay, cool. Well, hey, let me stop you there. Let's say I can do this. I can find 5 minutes. I can do this. Well, Sean, no, I can't. Okay, well, you got to stare yourself in the mirror. Stare it down. Look at yourself. Look what you're saying. Being intentional about it. Stay with me. Let's find the version of you that says, I can't find time to work out. And then let's find the version of you that says, I can find 5 minutes during the morning to work out. Which version over time will compound and manifest to get to where he wants to go, where she wants to go? Even though it may or may not be true. Maybe. It's
the possibility.
But it's the possibility. It's the belief. The possibility. What would it take?
Continue to look, as opposed to the belief has you stopped.
Bingo.
No point in looking.
Bingo.
If I already understand it all. If I know it all, there's nothing more to learn. And I'm going to sit with what I know. So I work out hard. I do all the things, but then I'm thinking to myself, the version of me in 4 years, I don't think I'm going to be able to, I say to myself, I wouldn't be able to keep up with him today because he's just put in the time and effort. But today, what if there was 1%, like, because of my belief and I changed the belief, maybe there was one tiny little extra thing that I do that just helped move slightly more or a lot more. Maybe there's a big groundbreaking thing that I just have not discovered yet, so
it's
maybe
called
there's
confidence. It's called confidence. When you have that belief in something, you're like, hold on here. My heart rate went down. Yes. I'm feeling better today. I'm showing up different. Maybe it is possible.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, and remember this, it does take patience. It does take persistence. And maybe all that's true as far as forcing, but I'm not going to focus on that. I'm going to focus on my belief in what I can control, which is up here between your two ears. Yeah. But just know, if the outcome is this, whatever area of life, it's going to take patience. It's going to take persistence. Either way, you're going to have another day. So which one are you going to choose to believe? The guy that can, or the guy that can't? The guy that can have enough time, the guy that can't, right? I'm going to go down the road of manifestation, belief. You must believe to achieve.
Yeah. I'm going to ask you to hold me accountable. Anytime you hear me say you can't, or I can't, or the logic says I need to come up with a different way of saying it.
Yeah.
Another way.
Yeah. It's just, in what it does to the soul, what it does internally. Think of, how do you feel right now? If you're listening to this, think about it, right? You're the guy that tells yourself, if you're thinking like, oh man, I do say I don't have enough time, or I do say I can't do something. I'm going to challenge you right now to go, I can do that. I can start that business. I can jump in that cold plunge. I can run a marathon, right? Which version is going to feel more freeing, is going to feel more bliss, joy, vitality? If you're trapped in that prison of belief of I can't do something and you want to get out of it, I just encourage you to apply and be intentional about changing the mantra, changing what you're saying and what's coming out of your mouth. And you do that by, you can journal, you can look at yourself in the mirror, have an accountability partner, have a coach, whatever it may be. But for things to change, you have to change, right? Jim Rohn says that. And like you said, wherever you're at in your journey of life right now, it's typically because of your experiences, your, what's happened in the past, traumas, your childhood. And that was me, and sometimes you take away the goods and sometimes you take away the bads. If you're the one saying, I don't have enough time, you're the one I'm talking to. If you're the one says, I can't do something, you're the one I'm talking to. Because I let this be a testament. I believe you can. I believe you can. Internally, you have the power to do it. You have the power to do it. Whether you think you can or not, just trust me, take the steps, try these different actionable baby steps, and just watch. And remember, consistency plus execution equals belief, right? You will see that progress. You will see that confidence, and make sure that you get guidance and along the way, right? Accountability. Don't try to go out this alone. It's very tough if you try to go out this alone.
That's why kryptonite. That's the kryptonite.
That's why groups and accountability, talk about it with your spouse, and they will point it out to you. They will point it out to you. Tell your community, say, hey, when I say this, point it out to me.
Yeah.
Because think about it, Ewan. You just said it yourself. You lit up when you said, hey, I want you to hold me accountable. Have you done that with anybody else in your life? No, probably not. Right? And same with me. It's like, hey, Kendra, when I say this, I want you to point it out to me.
Yeah.
And subconsciously, we don't know when we say it because that's just what we're familiar with.
It almost sounds too easy. I think that's one of the things is like, it's so simple. It's so easy. But the belief is that's so simple, it won't work. So then you stay stuck. So believe that if you do that over time, you literally will see the results. Like
100%.
You will, because the slight tiny tweaks.
Well, let's say you don't, Ewan. Let's say you don't.
Yeah.
Let's end it with this. Let's say you don't. They're like, well, Sean, I've tried it, beliefs, blah, 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 woo, 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 right? Okay, cool. Persistence plus execution, right? Consistency, understanding it's a long-term game. Let me ask you this, Ewan. The guy that says, I can, the guy that has the mantra and does these things, the version of you in 6 months, you are going to be 6 months from here, right? The guy that applies that, because how you do one thing is how you do everything. So if you're applying it just in that area, in these other areas, are you telling me that this version of you is not going to be dominating this version that says I can't force, I can't find time, right? When you start having that mantra and you making that mindset shift and that belief, right, of I can, sure, it may not happen right away. It may take 6 months or 12 months or 24 months. But you know what? Here's the thing. You're going to go down the road most traveled, or you're going to go down the road less traveled. I like going down the road less traveled. And if you're on this podcast and if you're listening to this podcast, we're going down that road. We've been down that road. All we're doing is coming back, saying it through the podcast, and we're pulling you along with us.
Even if it's 1% a month, in 6 months, that's 6%.
100%.
And in 10 years' time, you would be 60% better than the version of you that doesn't.
Yes.
Right? It's going to happen. And that's just if it was 1%.
Yeah.
It's just.
Think about that for a second. That's mind-blowing.
Think about that. It is.
It won't happen overnight, but man, rest assured, you get around that accountability partner, because I ain't going to I'm not going to let those limiting beliefs stop you, right? I will find a way, and we will find a way to grow together. And so I think that's why it's so important to have to be able to share that with an accountability partner, whether it's your spouse or whoever it may be.
We need to have like 8 more episodes on this topic, dude.
I love it, dude, because it's so powerful.
It's everything.
Right?
It is everything.
Yeah.
It's everything.
You must believe to achieve. So if you're listening to this, thank you so much. Again, Ewan said it best at the early stages. We really appreciate you. We get DMs and text messages. And if we don't get to, we try to respond to everybody and our team members and try to communicate as much as possible. But man, we just want you to know that we're super appreciative of you listening and all the, the forward action taking. That's our hope. It is for you to take action in your own life, level up, continue to move forward, and live your best life, man. Live it to its fullest. Work on your life, not in it, right? And making sure that you're intentional about doing these things to get to where you want to go. So make sure to like, subscribe, share this with a friend, and share in the notes on if you're on YouTube or Spotify, Apple, iTunes, or any platform that basically we're on now. Share what you liked about the episode, man. This is what inspires us when you guys send the DMs and the messages. this is what fires us up. So whatever you want to hear more of, let us know. And we appreciate you.
Level up and live.
Level up and live.